and welcome back to goldstocktrades.com. Today we have special guests with us from Standard Lithium, which we've been following for several months right now. We have Robert Mintak, who's the CEO of Standard Lithium, and Andy Robinson, who's the Chief Operating Officer of Standard Lithium, which can be traded as SLL on the TSX Venture and as STLHF on the OTC. Thanks, guys, for being here with us today. I know you're in the middle of this benchmark tour where you're touring all around North America discussing the battery sector with Benchmark Minerals. Could you explain what you're working on now and what you're presenting about and how the reception is to that?
Yeah, Jeb, thank you for the call. We haven't talked in a while because we've really been focused on the project development and executing on some key agreements and developing some strategic alliances. The most significant one of the company's project development cycle so far, we announced today, and we announced it at Benchmark Minerals here in Toronto, and that is the execution of a binding MOU with LANXESS, which is a global specialty minerals company, a specialty chemical company. They've got operations around the world, thousands of employees, billions in revenue, and we signed an MOU with them today to pursue the commercial development of lithium products produced from brine that will be accessed from their large land position in southern Arkansas. They're the largest landholder in southern Arkansas, the largest bromine producer in southern Arkansas, and they produce bromine from brine that's rich in lithium. They have 3 production facilities there, pumping hundreds of thousands of barrels of brine every day, stripping the bromine out of it, treating it, and then putting it back into the aquifer, the Smackover Formation, which is the resource where all the bromine is produced in southern Arkansas. We have our own 30,000-acre land package that we acquired through an agreement with Tetra Technologies. So we've put together significant deals in this last year with existing producers. And a really important part about it is they're already permitted and operating. So this deal gives us exclusive access to install a pilot plant right now for the first phase of the agreement to prove commercially that it's viable to extract lithium from their tail brine. The huge volumes of tail brine there represent a massive resource globally, potentially a massive resource globally. So we've been talking about that today at Benchmark, how our company's business model was to avoid risk, pursue opportunities that could show a clear path to production, and align ourselves with existing producers. We've done that this year, signed agreements with National Chloride last spring in California, Tetra Technologies in California and Arkansas, and now there really is the biggest opportunity that we've executed on is this agreement with LANXESS.
Yes, this is a significant agreement, and what separated you from so many of these other companies is focusing on existing brine producers and partnering with them. Could you talk to us about today's partnership and also kind of bring us up to date with all the partnerships that you've signed over the past 6 months?
Yeah, I'll highlight the agreements that we put together because that's been my focus, is executing on developing these relationships and aligning our goals, which was to bring a lithium project online quickly with as minimal risk as possible. And then I'll pass the phone to my associate, Dr. Robinson, and he can really highlight the global significance and the industry significance of the deal we struck with LANXESS now, just in development-wise. So we've put together agreements with National Chloride and Tetra Technologies at our California project, the Bristol Lake project in Mojave Desert last summer. The area with a classic lithium resource or classic brine resource. It's a basin that is very similar to the basins you'd find in South America. They just haven't produced lithium from it, but they've been producing minerals, industrial minerals from it for the last 100 years. So we struck deals with both the producers, giving us exclusive access to their properties, to in a large extent to be able to work under their permits and to pursue development of the lithium resource they have there by using a modern process on it. Additionally to those deals that we struck a deal with Tetra this last January that we announced to acquire the lithium rights on 30,000 acres of extremely prospective brine leases in southern Arkansas. And southern Arkansas really is the pinnacle of the lithium opportunity in the continental United States. It's a large brine resource, one of the world's largest brine resources, currently producing for both Tetra, Lanxess, and Albemarle. Both, Albemarle and Lanxess are producing bromine from that resource. But we struck the deal with Tetra for the only really large land package available. We announced that last January, and now we've moved on to this deal with Lanxess. And you haven't spoken to my associate Andy before, but he can really walk you through what it means. It's almost mind-boggling what we've have access to move this project forward now. So I'm just going to pass the phone over to Andy, and you could have a quick introduction and discussion with him.
Yeah, thanks, Andy. Yeah, please give us some background into this chemical company, Lanxess, and the significance of being able to extract lithium from the Smackover brine resource.
Yeah, sure. So the Smackover resource, as Robert mentioned, is it's a huge limestone aquifer which actually runs sort of from parts of Texas right the way through into Florida. So it's an enormous geological formation. It's been known for several decades that it obviously has huge brine resources within that, and they're currently being exploited. They're being extracted, pumped to the surface. Bromine is being stripped out of the brine, and then the spent brine, which is what they call it tail brine in that particular industry. They just pump that back down into the ground again, and that brine is extremely rich in lithium. The grades that we see, both in historical data and in data that we've collected, show that the brine grades for lithium are extremely similar to the similar sorts of projects which are being talked about in Argentina at the moment. So anywhere from 200 through to sort of 400-500 milligrams per liter lithium. So these are extremely good brine grades. The brine is nice and clean. It's also hot, which is very important for us. This deal with Lanxess, which was announced today, is particularly important for us because it gives us a couple of key things. It gives us access to a huge brine resource and land package, which would have been difficult or impossible to gather on our own. So the land package that they have is over 150,000 acres. They're pumping and extracting brine from that land package. Probably the most amazing thing, though, for a developer is that so many parts of the project development cycle have been ticked for us because the brine is already being pumped to the surface. The pipeline network is already in place. It's already being taken to central processing facilities. The re-injection system is already permitted, so the brine's already being put back down on the ground again. So we literally just have to tap into a pipeline. We're at the stage right now of completing our mini pilot testing work, and we've got a fantastic location on one of Lanxess's sites in southern Arkansas to locate a full-scale pilot plant, and that plant is currently being designed and it will go into construction. It's a modular type of pilot plant that will be constructed in the second half of this year. So it's an incredibly it's a big deal for us, for Standard Lithium, and I think the market will start to appreciate that Southern Arkansas and the Smackover will be kind of one of the world's really main large producers for lithium products in the future.
So, Andy, why don't you take us through the next steps, I guess, with the pilot plant and eventually how you see Standard Lithium getting into producing lithium brine for the battery factories?
Absolutely. So the great thing about this opportunity is that so many of those other stages, which a typical lithium developer has to go through, and Robert and I have been through this battleground before, is you have to spend a lot of time and money, drilling, proving out your resource. That's a very time-consuming business. It typically, takes 3 to 5 years to usually kind of go through that resource assessment process. So right off the bat, with a deal with Lanxess, we don't have to do any of that. The resource has already been drilled, it's already being exploited, it's already being brought to the surface. So that sort of exploration stage has effectively been cut straight out. So we're going, straight to can we build a commercial plant or not? And that's really the point of the pilot plant. So the main steps for us right now are to complete the mini pilot test work that we're doing, finalize the flow sheet for a company called Zeton, who are based here. I'm in Toronto today. They're based here in Ontario. They're a company that's built over 800 pilot plants before. They've got an incredible team to design and build that plant. So the plant will be constructed second half of the year. It'll be deployed to this location on one of Lanxess's plants in southern Arkansas at the end of this year. The plant will be commissioned in Q1 of 2019. So I think, the absolute paramount focus for us at Standard Lithium is to get that plant built on site and operating. And I think then the world, will be able to see what a modern process facility looks like, and how efficiently we can selectively extract lithium out of this brine extremely quickly and at very high purity. I think that's going to be an eye opener once we get this plant up and running. Our mini pilot work to date has been incredibly encouraging. We're getting great data out of the work that we're doing. The design process is going to be quick and easy. We're using mostly components and technology, which is extremely well understood. These are standard brine and wastewater treatment processes that we're using, and we're just simply adapting and adopting existing technologies to make this thing work. So we're using a new twist, but we're trying not to do any kind of reinvention of the wheel to make the technology work.
Well, Andy and Robert, thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy schedule. And I must reiterate, and important for investors to know that if you can highlight your financial situation, I know that you raised a significant amount of money. You have a strong treasury. Anything else that we should mention before we conclude, Andy or Robert?
I think what you'll see is some significant developments and milestones achieved over the next 6 months. We're on target to have resource reports on 4 assets out late Q2, early into Q3. Both of our California projects. So we have 2 projects in California, Bristol Lake and Cadiz Dry Lake. Exploration is wrapping up probably end of this month, early June. We've already hired QPs and engineers, a high quality, high caliber team putting that report together. Our 30,000 acre project that we have in southern Arkansas came with millions of dollars worth of historic data. 200 plus wells have been drilled on or around the land package. We have access to geological data on more than 30 of those wells. We have downhole geophysics data and logs. And then on about a dozen or 15 wells, we actually have core samples. We struck agreements with independent oil and gas operators in the area. We're going to re-enter a number of those wells and do pump tests and brine sampling for us. So for a very modest amount of money, we're going to have a very robust 43-101 on those 30,000 acres published in early Q3 of this year. An amazing, since we only struck the deal in January, an amazing race to get that done, a shortcut because of the historic work. And then we're going to go immediately to proving out the 43-101 resource with Lanxess on their 150,000 acres, because we have access to all of their pumping data and historic chemical analysis. So it'll be a very robust, potentially M&I resource immediately coming out. So 4 43-101s in the next 6 months.
Wow, exciting time.
Plus flow sheets. Flow sheets on this process. And we've hired an amazing engineering team. We're building out the team as we speak. We should have some significant news on additional team members coming on. And we're hitting the road to educate the lithium investor and the investor at large that not just Australia and Argentina are opportunities to answer the growing global demand for lithium, but a new name, Arkansas, really has an opportunity to be the U.S.'s preeminent location to build a lithium project.
Standard Lithium, a TMX Venture 50 top performer. Thank you, Robert and Andy, for taking time out. SLL on the TSX Venture, STLHF on the OTC. You can get more information just by going to standardlithium.com. Have a great day, and thanks, Robert and Andy, for being here today.
Right on. Thanks, Jeb.